example, with a lot of black men, they'll come into the office and they'll say something like, yeah, I had this problem. I was feeling really down. I just isolated myself for a little bit, put my head down, and just got to work. It's like, okay, well, who did you tell about your problems? Nah, nobody. Well, why didn't you tell anybody about your problems? I didn't want to be a burden. And then we will continue and we'll just keep reframing those thoughts so I can get an idea of what he means by being a burden. And it kind of distills down into this idea that I don't want to have to depend on anybody for anything, because if I do, then I'm somehow less than a man. And that doesn't work.
Boy, guess what?
Hey boys,
Hey.
Hey.
how y'all doing? I guess we all hanging on by a thread, huh? Well, that being said, this is gonna be a good topic. Like I like to always bring y'all conversations that I've had before and, just different interactions with people and like the latest. And so the latest is me and a group of friends were talking about things that we're holding on to. And by that, things we're holding on to that are not allowing us to grow, that are keeping us stuck, that are doing
That don't
things with our
belong
mind
to Earth.
mentally. Yeah, all of those things. So I wanted to ask you guys, are you holding on to anything? Is there anything that you feel like you need to let go? Is there anything that's like keeping you back? I know it's deep, but we're here to have fun and be deep in for the community. So,
Yes. I'm already down there, so let's go.
okay.
So I'm holding on to a couple of things that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. We hold on to insecurities, to how people perceive us. You know, we shed them as we get older. But I think I am holding on to people's opinions too much, and how can I put this in words? Sorry. I
No, take
had
your
it and
time.
then I lost it.
Take your time.
And you might have to edit this out. So I'm holding on to how people respond to me when I set up boundaries or when I express myself. And I'll explain. So when I'm feeling uncomfortable in a situation, sometimes I hold back telling people that because I don't want them to feel a certain way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna give an example like with work. I have a great relationship with people I work with, especially my boss. And I put in a PTO request and I saw that one of the days wasn't there. He had me coming back a little early. And I was like, hmm. And I was talking to him. I was like, hey, you missed one of my PTO days. And he was like, oh, I got to change schedule. And I was like, immediately, oh, but if you need me that day, like I'll still come in. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
almost like immediate where it was like, oh my gosh, like I don't want him to, have to stop what he's doing to change a schedule for something that he made a mistake on. Like I don't want him to feel like I'm doing too much or asking too much, and I had to kind of stop myself and I'm like, no, you put in this request. You want to come back a certain day, he just change that. And he wasn't like upset or anything. Like he was gonna change it, but I immediately got in the way and started thinking ahead, like, well, maybe he's gonna be upset that, this is an inconvenience for him because I know what's on his plate. And then I do that even in like my personal life, like with friends and with family. Like I agree to things and I hold back from saying things because I already know they're going to feel a certain way. And that holds me back from my own happiness, from my own peace, from my own joy, because I'm worried about other people's feelings. And I've carried that with me all of my life because when I was a little child, you know, I learned about boundaries very early. And in those days, you couldn't speak to adults or you couldn't speak to other people in those ways. So you were silenced when you did speak up for yourself. And I took that with me throughout all my years, you know, not all the time, but in certain moments, I hold back because I'm afraid of like how that person is gonna react. Does that make any sense to you guys? Am I
Very
making sense?
much.
1,000%. It's
Yes.
actually a form of people pleasing. And so it's so
Yeah,
funny you said that. So when I was with the therapist and I was talking about that, I said, one of the things that like drives me crazy, same as you, Devon, is that like I tend to have uh, this anxiety around saying no or feeling like disappointing people, knowing that I don't have the capacity to fulfill whatever request they may need or feel like if I'm tired, I'm just tired and that's okay. But for me, it's not like, oh, well, I want to go and do this, whatever. So I used to feel that way, right? So I've gotten to a place now, I just don't care. If I don't feel like
yeah,
doing something, I'll just be honest and say it. And I think that the people who understand will understand and they will still love you, understanding that you're setting boundaries and that this is not something that you can do.
right,
um
right.
it's a hard cycle to break for sure, and it's one of those things where, like you said, with the schedule, PTO is something that that's something that's allotted to you. It
Yeah,
is, I wouldn't say necessarily a reward, but it's a benefit to the job that you work, and you work to gain these hours to then take off time. And so you shouldn't be denied any time that you want to take off. And if there was a mistake, then that mistake should be corrected because it shouldn't affect the vacation that you're taking. And
yeah,
so, I think that's all rooted in authority and how we grew up, like you said, where as adults, we just listened, we did what we were told, all of those things just kind of like filter into our adulthood life where we're so afraid to disappoint an authoritative figure, or again, it goes back to we're afraid to disappoint our friends and things of that nature. But I find it is that it's okay to say no, and it's okay to have conflict in areas that don't, benefit what you may agree with. And when I say that, let's say someone is like, "Oh, let's take an Uber instead of taking the train," and you've only budgeted just for dinner or whatever else. Well, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, I can't do the Uber because that's not what I budgeted for. I can meet you at the restaurant via the train and I will see you there soon. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Friend, please understand where I'm coming from in my situation. Like you just have to set those boundaries and be okay. But again, that's a whole shedding process, and it takes a
yeah,
lot because you don't want to disappoint anybody. But at times we do really have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and filling our cups and doing those things so that way we're not burned out, because we'll give so much and we'll turn around and that same giving is not reciprocated. And it doesn't always have to be reciprocated, but we end up just losing more than we are gaining. So it's very understood where you're coming
mhm,
from.
yeah.
Very much
I'm
Yeah.
glad.
so.
I'm glad it made sense because I was like, I'm not quite sure if people would understand it, but and again, like it's not something that happens all the time.
Right.
It just pops up. And one of my favorite mantras is their energy doesn't belong to me. And I'd say
Correct.
Oh,
that
yeah.
often, especially when I'm walking into rooms with people I don't like. But what pisses me off the most about when I do it is sometimes I get so ahead of it, like with, my boss. Like my boss wasn't even bothered by it. He was like, "Oh, my bad." And I'm already like, "Oh, but I'll come in." And I'm sitting like I'm outside of myself, like, "What are you doing?" Like you
Yeah.
request no. Take the time off, let him fix
Yeah.
it. And you don't want him to be upset or you don't want to be inconvenienced. Dude,
But
you
that's
did
something
what
that
you
you
were supposed to
recognize
do.
it.
You put your request in correctly.
Right.
He made a mistake and he was going to correct it, but you're already getting ahead and you're already trying to,
Yeah.
calm a situation that doesn't even need it,
Right.
you
But it's good
know?
that you saw it and you addressed yourself. That's the part of the growth where you're like, all right, like I
Never
caught
thought I'd be
myself.
bringing that.
Yeah, like I have
Never
to. You
thought
have
I'd
to do
be
that
in
for
my
yourself.
40s still holding on to that.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I love that we're talking about this because I had a conversation with a friend and he asked me that question and I was just like, it's one
Yeah.
of those like you can't answer directly. You gotta dive deep and what I love so much about what we do is we are diving so deep into these questions, these topics. But I'm curious to know about you guys. What are you guys holding on to that doesn't belong to you?
Ooh.
I'm gonna just kind of mine's a little bit different, but I'm gonna kind of because I didn't want all three of us jumping in at the same time. Um, I'll piggyback off of that topic, off of what we were just talking about with people pleasing, because I'm noticing it with individuals in my personal life. um, am I guilty of people pleasing throughout my life to some various degrees? Absolutely. It comes with the territory. But one thing I've grown to learn and will not accept is certain inconveniences to myself. For instance, if that was like, especially at my second to last job, if that was me with them vacation hours, Effie White would have walked through the doors and been like, Curtis, I need you to fix this because I'm not coming in on the 21st. So either you're going to be short. um, I've also learned that with that, it does take time to get to a place where you do say, I gotta, I gotta put me first, Lucius. It really does because we are conditioned from a young age to bow to authority. Our first authority figure is our parents. Then we go to school. The teachers and principals and whoever become authority figures. Then that's basically training you to get a job so that way you can bow down to the authority figures at your job. And they condition you to feel that you you having a personal life, you needing time for yourself versus the job is wrong.
Mhm.
I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this recently, because I was thinking about like healthcare in America and how it makes no sense to me how you have to choose between whether or not you get an operation that can save your life or if you need to go to work today and your
Yeah.
boss is expecting you to go to work today and you
Mhm.
feel guilty for having to take time off or you're penalized
Mhm.
financially for having to take time off because you need this surgery.
Mhm.
Because without this surgery, you can't work.
Yeah.
And without this job, it's such a double-edged sword, which makes absolutely no sense to me in the world we live in. You need this job to be able to pay for that surgery because that surgery is going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So that really boggles my mind how the world we live in, the society we live in, even before this current administration, has conditioned us to think that, oh, we're wrong for needing a mental day because we can't stand uh, Sheila, who works in the cubicle next to mine, and all she want to do is talk all day while I don't have the mental space for it. Or
Mm-hmm.
you're sick with the flu and or COVID, and then instead of you taking the day to heal or a few days to heal, you have to go in because if you don't, you're gonna lose sick hours or you're not gonna get paid at all. So to
So
me,
what
that
are you
just makes
holding on to, sister?
yeah.
What are you holding on to?
What do you mean?
I'm saying that's what you're holding on to.
Like in this situation?
Yeah.
I don't know how to word it. Are you trying to tell me I'm going on a rant?
Maybe a little tangent.
Okay, well, all right, so we want to get a little bit more personal for me then.
And now you don't have to get personal, but I know,
I was,
and I
I
understand how
was
you
just
feel,
trying.
baby. Like everything you're saying is very much correct. It's a terrible cycle to be in, but
Yeah, and of course we can't change it. So what are we gonna do?
right.
Move to Switzerland where you get free dental and health care. Um, Me holding on to things that don't serve me. I would say that my things come from past experiences with people that I've been involved with, mostly romantically. Um, there's a lot of trauma from most of my adult life that I'm still working through. We've discussed previously my trust issues with people, particularly men that I get involved with. And Bronson and I had a very good conversation the other day while we were together, and it really put some things into perspective. So, for instance, I'll just go into like you know my previous relationship. I hold on to a lot of anger and resentment towards that individual because of how they handled things and handled me. And part of me wonders and feels like because I do want to have another serious long-term relationship at some point. And I've since then I have dated, but nothing has been serious. Nothing has come from it. And it's making me wonder if holding on to that anger is what's holding me back from receiving the kind of love and relationship I want, but also projecting my disappointment in that relationship, just assuming that, oh, okay, you just gonna do the same thing anyway. So let's just play this out. Because I literally said to Bronson the other day, the next man that comes into my life and tries to date me, I'm just gonna be like, how you gonna waste my time?
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, sister, that's so bad. As I like, I get it, but you can't make somebody else pay for the past. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And not even give them a
yeah.
chance for you to allow them to see that the great person that you are, the gentle soul that you are, and the loving soul that you are. Like you have to. Anger is a hard thing to get through. Resentment is a hard thing to get through in terms of relationships. So when you lose a ship, like ships are hard, relationships, friendships, all of those things. And when you lose those things, it's very hard to get through. And we all grieve differently, right? My grieving period could be a month. Your grieving period could be 2 years. Um, but at some point, I believe you have to tell yourself, okay, am I going to continue to allow this to affect me in this way and miss my blessings, or am I going to let it go and receive the things that I know that I deserve? You just can't
Mhm.
hold on to those things. But go ahead and finish. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. Um, Dang, I lost my train of thought. Oh,
You were
I'm
saying that
moving.
you were holding on to anger and resentment towards this individual, which is not allowing you to.
Yes. I will say, because we've also spoken about situations since then and in between then, because he and I briefly got back together a couple years ago. Wow, it's crazy to say that because it feels like it just happened. Um, you said something the other day that really struck me is that the kind of love that I give and expect, they're not able to receive, nor are they able to return.
Mhm.
Because for a long time, I have blamed myself for either not loving them right, not loving them enough, not being enough in whatever ways that means. And I've kind of, I appreciate that note because it allows me to realize that. Because one thing I also had to say to myself was, I'm not boring and I'm not basic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's
You're not.
nothing. I'm really not. And sometimes I need that reminder. And I had to remind myself of that after it was after you and I dispersed the other day, Bronson. And I was thinking about the conversation in retrospect. And I said, I am not basic, nor am I boring. And it kind of has helped me to understand and know that I can't expect me from people
Mhm.
and just allow people to just show up, but also not go above and beyond for someone just because they give you a little wink, a little attention, or whatever the case may be,
Yes.
because people are seasonal.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I think it's great when you do meet people that you can unintentionally give a lifetime expectation to, because there's some people that are in my life that I never would say, if you first meeting them, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we're gonna be friends 10 years from now, or we're gonna still be. And now, and me, my thing is, once I've known you for a certain amount of time, you become family. So
Right.
um so I would say there's that. And that would be my biggest thing that I'm holding on to, is letting that pain from the past go with disappointments in previous romantic relationships and even some friendships, because I know we already had our episode about mourning friendships, but it's a real thing. Like, I think that I get comfortable with people too easily sometimes, which is interesting because if you ask Bronson, I hate people.
You do.
Look at
I lost my train of thought again.
You were talking about friendships and you hate
Oh,
people.
yes. If you ask my good sister, I hate people. But, and sometimes when I do want to give people that whole, like, oh, I want you in my life, I want you to stick around, I want you to be here. And then they just disappear, ghost, disappoint, whatever the thing may be. It kind of just creates this, well, what was I supposed to expect?
I like that you brought up that because I feel a lot of people can relate to holding on to anger, especially from or anything from past relationships. Trust issues, anger, those are usually the two things that people carry with them, uh, especially into the next. But is that something that you're like working on, or have you seen
That
yourself
was gonna be
like?
my next question.
Oh, yeah. Um, I will say more so over the past month or so, I've really been processing. I admitted, and I've said this to Bronson a few times over the past few weeks, I'm seeking a therapist to be able to work through this and process this, because I feel it's been long enough, and this is something that I don't want to hold on to for much longer because it can consume you and it can drive you insane.
Yes, yes.
Um, of course, in the meantime, I'm doing my own work through it. Meditation has been lovely,
Necessary.
Mhm.
very necessary. And because the main thing is it's a rewiring of the mind. My mind was wired a particular way before those individuals. So, uh, I'm, and then my mind was rewired after them. So now I need to rewire my mind for myself in this next era that I step into. And because that's also the thing too, is taking accountability. Like, I'm very big on that. I know my faults, or I can recognize my faults. I'm not perfect. Um, Yeah.
One
I mean,
step at a
listen,
time.
right? I was
Mm.
gonna say you started somewhere, which is important, and you're recognizing and you're saying that you want to change, you want to do something about it. So, first of all, applause for that because some people can just kind of stick in their ways and just let it consume them and just say, well, this is who I am, which is how I feel like a lot of people, again, they miss out on their blessings. And two, there's no growth, there's no shedding, there's no, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Because when we look at some of the situations that we're in, a lot of people tend to blame others and point fingers, but baby, have you looked at you and said like, hey, maybe I might be the issue and maybe I may be the one that's holding my own self back because I'm holding on to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Um, and that takes a lot, right? That you have to shed ego. You have to shed so many things to really take a deeper look and confront and face those shadows and demons. But when you do, it's liberating and you start to see the person that you want to be and who you can potentially be more. Every day that we wake up, we're a different person. Every
Mhm.
hour that passes, we become a different person. Our body changes, our mind changes. We may not think it, but it truly does happen as we get older. But applause to you and kudos for you for taking the steps to do what you need to do to like get rid of that stuff because it's not healthy at all. And it affects you
Absolutely.
in so many ways, right? Like it can be mental, but then that mental turns into how you eat, how you look at yourself, insecurities, all of those things. And then it starts to break you down. And so
Mhm.
then you're wondering, well, like, well, how did I get here? And it's because, well, you held on to this and now I brought you down to here. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, in terms of what I'm holding on to, I don't know that I can say that I'm holding on to a lot. And I mean, Marcus, you can correct me if I'm wrong if I've actually, in one of our many conversations of me venting about stuff, but I don't really think that, I don't feel that I'm holding on to anything, especially the things that used to debilitate me mentally and hold me back. I would say imposter syndrome was one of the biggest ones next to people pleasing. Those are probably my two that I held on to a lot for a very long time.
Mhm.
And I think that people pleasing came from the wanting to be liked by people and not realizing that my authentic self is likable in any room. And if you don't like me, then that's just okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to like me, and that's completely fine, but I love who I am. And once I started to really see that, that's when the shift happened where like I just don't care. And in terms of imposter syndrome, I don't allow those thoughts to consume me like they do because I know where I'm meant to be. But for a while, like those thoughts would come in, like, well, you're not a designer. You didn't go to school to finish to do design, girl. You're not this. What kind of skills do you got? Like, why are you even, girl? You can't do this. And so that would stop me from reaching out and networking, and even in conversations. Like one of the things that like when I meet people, I hate, and I know it's not a thing that they're doing intentionally, but I hate, so what do you do?
Yeah.
I hate that question.
I do.
And I think if I say things that we're holding on to, I think the reason why I hate that question is because I'm all like, are you trying to size me up? Are you trying to see if you have like an overhead over me? And again, that's rooted in ego, which I really don't care. Like if you tell me you're a doctor, like I'm gonna give you a flowers, like, girl, that's great because you went to medical school. You're probably in so much debt, like, or you may not be, but that's a lot for somebody to go through. So like I applaud that you went through that. So I used to get bothered by that question. I think I get bothered by it now because there's so many more questions you can ask a person when you first meet them. Like, hey, I love your shirt, Davon, that Black mental health matters. But then when you really look at it, it says Black men matter. Where'd you get
Mhm.
that shirt? And then you open up conversation. But when you're like, oh, so hey, what's your name? Oh, great. So what do you do? I'd be like,
Yes.
oh. So one time I was at this party actually just this weekend, and the guy was really nice. He was really nice. And he goes, what do you do? And I said, I wake up every day thanking God that I'm alive. And he kind of
Great
laughed, and I was like,
answer.
that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like I wake up every day thanking God that I am alive and that I am able to do all the things that I love to do. And that's it. You know, like, cause I just really, really hate that question. But there was also anger and resentment that I held on to for a past relationship. And that's how Marcus and I got into the conversation of, in order for you to receive the love that you want, you have to let that go. And friends in a circle know the relationship that I talk about. I think I talked about it in one of the previous episodes of how like that like emotionally drained me to the core before I met my husband. And even in meeting him, I said to him, I said, I don't know that I could do this. Like, I don't know that I have the emotional capacity. I don't think I have it in me to date anyone else. And he says, I'll be patient. And so, even into our relationship, I want to say probably like a year in, was still holding on to being angry at this person. And when I say anger, like, if I could get away with the M word, I would have done it. But then I woke up and I realized, I say, here I have this man that is loving me. And I wasn't mean to him by any means, but I was still like blocking the love that I know that he could give me because I was so afraid that like he may do me like the last person. And it was until I said to myself, like, I need to let this go, was then I was able to receive everything that I knew I deserved. And here I am. Like, I have a husband, I have a great relationship, you know, like I can't complain about my life at all. You know what I'm saying? Could things be a little bit different in terms of me personally? Yes. But I'm also grateful where I am in so many ways. It could be worse, you know? Does he drive me absolutely nuts? Yes. Do I drive him nuts? I'm sure I do. But like I'm happy where I am. And I think again that goes back to you have to let go of these things in order to grow. And right now I'm just like shedding skin and transforming. And it feels weird because that means friendships are changing.
Mhm.
And that goes back to good friendships. Friendships are definitely changing. People that I didn't think that I would not talk to, I'm not I'm not mad at them. I still love them, but there's a certain level that I get to now where you continue to keep showing me who you are and your actions, and I'm going to believe you and I'm going to move accordingly. And if you're doing things to be petty, if you're doing things to punish me as opposed to having a conversation with me, I'm good because we're all adults, right? And conflict doesn't mean that we have to argue. Conflict doesn't mean that we have to be mad at each other. It's just a simple, hey, girl, you made me feel this way. What happened? And I can explain to you, I am so sorry that I made you feel this way. This is what this was, but in the future, I'll be way more intentional about my actions towards you. But also be careful of the ones that try to use that all the time when they're doing bad behavior. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But to close it off and sum it up before I, start rambling, I think that's it. Like I don't really hold on to anything like I used to. Like I think I'm just more or less like, if it's not serving me, let it go. If it's not
Yeah.
blessing me, let it go. I don't have time to be mad about things I can't control. And if they want to carry a narrative about who I am and I'm this and that person, then that's fine because people know who I truly am, genuinely, you know? So,
Yeah.
and it feels good to be in that space. It really does. Like I can't hold a grudge against nobody. Like, girl, you did this. All right, cool. I'm not mad at you. I love you. I'm going to move on with my life and I'm okay. I'm okay. So
I will say this the you do have one pet peeve.
go ahead, please tell me. Because again, I am,
I'm just gonna drop this and leave it there.
yeah, well, bitch,
Cause
uh,
see, there it is, there
please,
it is, there it is. Cause
uh,
when the spirit of Beverly Sutphin takes over,
Davon, have you seen Serial Mom?
No.
Oh,
No.
God,
oh,
add that to your list. And I'm just going to give you the small, like, summary of it. Serial Mom is about a woman who is a suburban woman
like
and
typical housewife.
typical housewife, she lives this perfect life, but she's a murderer. But you like, but it's like little things that like send her off, and she gets away with murder.
You can't wear white shoes after Labor Day.
That's not true anymore.
Yes, it is. Didn't your mother ever tell you? Now you know.
No, please. Fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't.
Like, it's crazy. But anyways, one of my biggest things is like I'm sure it's probably OCD. I can't stand when there's clutter, when things are messy, when things are just like in disarray, because right, mentally it messes with me. I'm like, girl, why is this like this? This is chaos. Like, how are you living in chaos? I can't do it. And it like literally sends me off. So yes, that I probably am holding on to that because I cannot deal
Well,
with
I don't think
chaos.
there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
It's crazy,
The
girl.
messages that I will receive if I make a mess or if anybody else makes a mess in his spaces particularly, and he's just like, rage.
No, because
Girl.
like, girl, if we have a dishwasher next to the fucking sink, don't leave dishes in the sink. Put that shit in the dishwasher. See, now I'm getting sent off. See,
Okay, so let's dive a little deeper. Where did this come from? Was this a
Oh,
part of your
oh,
upbringing?
uh, oh,
Like,
um, my mom, I'm definitely my mom's child. She wasn't a huge like neat freak, but like things had to be in order. But I think that for me, I developed this even more because like even when making a bed in the morning, I make my bed as soon as I get out of the bed, unless I know I'm gonna go back in that bitch and go back to sleep. But I make it every morning because for me, it's an accomplishment of the day, and it forces me to go and be productive. And I started this, I want to say probably like maybe 9 months ago, because 3 months after getting laid off, it was just like, okay, I have a little bit of freedom, but then like, girl, I'm in the house all day. Then depression starts to kick in. Then you start to second guess yourself and, just the whole myriad of things. And so one day I was just in a really dark space and I was like sitting in the bed and I was like, girl, you cannot, like, this is not the neighborhood you want to be in. You have to move. You have to pack your bags. You have to move out of this house and you need to do something. And so I was like, all right, every day you'll get up, you'll make your bed. And that's going to stop you from not being productive and it's going to force you into the next step. And so I see it as an accomplishment. So I get up, I make my bed, and then I start my day. It gets me going. And so in terms of anything else when it comes to OCD or like cleaning, making sure things clean, internally it just makes me feel happy when I come in the house and I can just see that things are just like nice and organized and it gives me a sense of accomplishment maybe. And I don't really know because like I said, my mother wasn't crazy. Like, you must iron your clothes, you must do this. She wasn't mommy dearest like that. Like, no wire hangers. It wasn't that crazy.
No wire hangers! What's wire hangers doing in this closet when I told you no wire hangers ever?
But I think that I've developed this myself. So like, I just like things in order, like, and I'm not crazy, but like, it definitely is like one of those things where like, if we have a dishwasher next to the sink, just put the dishes in the dishwasher, especially if it's empty. You know what I'm saying? That's just simple. 1, 2,
yeah,
So
it's really that simple. It really
yeah,
is that simple.
but I mean, it's not, sometimes, yes, you other people because it's like, girl, I'm gonna have to bleep that out too because I think the last video I said something and but anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, I can't, and my sister, I love her to death, but she's messy. She's very messy. And I'm not gonna do her like that, but she's very messy. And I'm like, girl, how are you? But I get over that. Sometimes I pick up a broom. I've done it a couple times. I pick up a broom and say, we got to get this together because this is giving me there's things going on and I don't like this. So
Marcus does so much. Marcus' life is chaotic. So
but
sometimes like his
but not
spaces
only.
might look a little chaotic, but his space looks like, what he's doing. He's up and
Thank
he's
you.
going.
There's that, but
He's here and he's there.
there's also.
Davon, don't let him lie
Uh,
to you because he'll text the group chat. I'm watching this Tubi movie and you ain't picked up a broom.
I work long hours anyway. But I also grew up with a maid.
Oh, that's
Yes, my mom hired my aunt to be a nanny and our housekeeper. So I never learned how to make a bed. I didn't learn how to do my laundry until I was about 16. And that's because
That's around the normal time to learn how to do laundry. I
yeah,
think I learned like
well also I got tired of her bleaching my clothes cuz she would accidentally she was heavy-handed. So like when she would wash the dishes, we would always come home and the dishes would taste like soap. So if you were drinking a cup of Kool-Aid, yes, we drank Kool-Aid. You had that's why I'm the way I am now because I cannot eat off a plate, use a fork or spoon, or especially drink out of a glass unless I rinse it first.
I mean, that's kind of natural. Like, I totally understand that in general.
But she's the reason why I'm like that.
It's so crazy
And
when we think about all of our like little nuances that like it's always something else
yeah,
triggers it from like childhood, you know?
yeah. But I
hmm
know but she took care of our house up until about 4 years ago. So I never really was told how like I never really had to make my own bed. You know, I never really had to I mean my mom did have like a Sunday every now and again where she would make me and my brother clean. But as far as like having to do like constant household chores and things like that, it was very infrequent. I never really had to do those things. But I'm not trying to make myself sound super privileged. It's just that that's kind of how I grew up. So like when some people will bring up the fact that, oh, you don't know how to properly make a bed, and it has been brought up before, um, it's not like, okay, well, I never really learned. It doesn't mean that I'm not willing to learn. No. In my last relationship, we used to, when we lived together, like they're very similar to you, Bronson, in that regard, where the bed has to be made as soon as everybody gets up. I'd be the last one out of the bed, so who had to make it? But
I
I
mean,
and I had a
I
willingness
mean,
to learn. I had a
yeah, I
willingness
mean,
to learn.
with technology nowadays, it shouldn't be an issue. But anyways, back to what we're holding on to before we go on a tangent. Um,
Since you want to call me out.
I know I did. I said I didn't want to, and you know, you're right. But in closing, um, I think that and Davon, just with you, um, again, I know that you were one to really go through the things of trying to figure out what the issue is and how to solve the problem. And I know that mental health is very important to you. And
hmm
so, again, at any point that you feel that there is something that you're holding on to or you need to talk through, you know that we're here for you, first of all. And again, applause and flowers to you for recognizing, standing up for yourself, and understanding that it's okay to say no. It's okay to be like, no, like, I'm not, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I signed up for. I'm going to fill my cup and not worry about this. You know what I'm saying? So applause to you for that. Don't feel bad about being yourself and don't feel bad about saying no, because at the end of the day, if someone is upset about it, they'll be upset about it for whatever reason. And then if they're truly a friend, they will still come around and be understanding. So,
Yes. Growth.
um,
Growth is putting in the work.
right.
And where I'm at in my life right now is I'm having to take things in my life, lay them all out. And I'm like, okay, is this something that you want to continue on with? Or do we want to address this? Because I refuse to be this person going into the rest of my 40s, into my 50s and 60s, and however long I'm going to be here on this earth. I want to bring up this one story. We're not going to keep it too
Yeah.
long, but
Yeah.
I had a friend who, we kind of grew up together. We're not in communication now, but he was like a little husky kid and teen growing up, and he was always teased. and he was very insecure because people just, called him fat and Kool-Aid man and, every little thing you can think of when it comes to being a plus size. Um, he eventually started going to the gym, and in his 20s, he shed all that fat, gained that muscle, and that became his life. So much to the point where it was like a little annoying to hang out with him because he was like, oh, like I got to work out, so I got to leave, or I can't eat this, blah, blah, blah. But also his like personality change. Was, he, he still was that fat boy inside because he was still
Mm-hmm.
insecure. You can still kind of like hear it with him, you can feel it with him, like, he would, like, wear, like, a tight shirt and come to dinner, and he'll sit there, and he'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
checking himself and, like, making sure, like, he's fine, and we're like, "Chill, dude, like, you look amazing." But even though, like, he put in the work to get there with his body, here, he wasn't there. Here, he was still a fat boy, and to me, that's not the work that I wanna do. I don't wanna just be like, "No, no, no, no," because
Yeah.
sometimes I can say yes. Sometimes I know when I'm just being difficult, you know? And sometimes I know when I've reached my limit. So, I'm listening to myself more, I'm listening to my body, and even though, like, my friend and I aren't really talking to each other, we haven't talked in a while, I hope that he put in the work mentally to see that he has always been a beautiful person, beautiful on the outside, beautiful on the inside. And I hope that he is more secure with himself. And I hope that anybody that is listening can dive deep and see what are some of the things that they're holding on to that doesn't belong to them. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of the things inside of them that is keeping them from evolving, growing, and, find a way to address it. Find a
Yeah.
therapist, find a friend, find your community, talk, express, let go, and work on it. So I'm thankful for this, for you guys, for allowing me to express myself, hearing you guys and the things that, you guys are um working on, and just knowing that, we're all doing this together. We're all not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Gotta fix the internal before. I mean, you can do the external,
Yes.
but if that internal is not good, then there's no point because you're still fighting those demons.
None. Not a
So,
Very
yeah.
true. Yep.
Well, on that note, guys, thank you again for another beautiful episode. And for our listeners out there, I hope this reaches you. And again, we're always available for y'all too. So if y'all want to hop in the comments and say, "Oh, we want to talk about this," let's talk about it. That's what we're here
yes,
for. We're all
please.
community. This is what this is for. It's not just for us, it's for the community. So we appreciate y'all. So thank you. Until the next
Yes.
episode.
Bye.
Bye.